Now, how many uncontacted tribes are they aware of?
I think there's like over 100 different groups across the Amazon. If you leave them alone, then they won't kill you. If you know, then people go, they're Stone Age tribes. And it's like, well, they're not Stone Age tribes because they're alive right now.
From packs of large, hairy ape monsters stalking the jungles of South America to possible photographic evidence of an undead entity in Hawaii. These are dark legends of the jungle that might actually be true. Let's start with one of Australia's most mysterious legends, the Bunyip. This creature has supposedly been haunting the swamps, rivers, and billabongs of Australia for centuries. The word Bunyip is said to mean devil or evil spirit in some Aboriginal languages, and as you can imagine, that's because this thing is not friendly. The Bunyip is often described as this big, terrifying creature, though what it looks like exactly changes depending on who you ask. Some say it's got a more dog-like face, a horse tail with flippers. Other descriptions are more walrus-like. The appearance varies, but the Bunyip is more known for how it sounds. It's said to make this low, booming cry that's been reported by people who claim to have heard it in the dead of night. European settlers started hearing about the Bunyip in the 1800s. There's a story from 1845 about a man who found some bones near Geelong. When he showed them to an Aboriginal person, the guy immediately recognized them as belonging to a Bunyip. This got people talking, and soon enough, there were reports of people being attacked by this creature, with some saying the Bunyip would hug its prey to death. Next up is the Orang Mawa. There are legends of giant ape-like creatures all over the world. You got Sasquatch, Yeti, the skunk ape. While in Malaysia, they have the Orang Mawa. This bipedal ape is said to live in the jungle of Johor. It's about 10 feet tall and covered in thick black fur. Sightings of the creature go back centuries. The first documented sighting was in 1871. In terms of more recent sightings though, back in 1995, people talked about finding big footprints with 4 toes. Then in November of 2005, there was a big fuss when 3 workers busy clearing land for a pond claimed that they saw a Mawa family, 2 grown-ups and a youngling strolling near the Kinshin River. After that, they discovered some pretty big footprints, one of them measuring 18 inches apparently. A photo of a new footprint in tar, supposedly from the Mawas, made it into Malaysian newspapers in January of 2006. Batutut. Now, this is basically Borneo's version of Bigfoot. I promise this whole list will not just be big, hairy ape creatures, but it will not be the last either. Batutut, also known as the Bornean orang pendek, is a cryptid said to roam the jungles of Borneo, described as a humanoid creature standing around 7 feet tall. It has long, dark hair covering its body. Witnesses often say it looks a bit like an orangutan, but more human. Sightings of this creature have been reported for centuries, but the indigenous people of Borneo, mostly in the remote rainforests, the creature is said to move fast and is elusive and shy. And hey, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If there's a species of big, hairy ape creatures roaming around somewhere on the planet, I could see them living in this part of the world. The jungle's just vast, dense, teeming with life. Hey, why not, right? Alright, moving away from tall, hairy monsters for a moment to talk about short, hairless monsters, or aliens. Would aliens be considered monsters? I don't know, I'd call them monsters. Would you? Let us know down in the comments. These are important questions that must be answered. Alright, anyway, this photo you're looking at here was taken by a man named Michael Cohen. It was 2011 when 2 tourists were exploring the Amazon region in Brazil near Manaus, and they snapped this photo. The picture, taken by a writer named Michael Cohen, showed what really looks to be an alien being lurking in the background. The creature in the photo doesn't look like any known animal. It's humanoid, but not quite human, and its shape is unlike any life form that we know. What makes the whole thing even creepier, though, is the fact that the Manaus region is known for having a lot of UFO sightings. People have reported seeing strange lights and crafts in the sky for years, and some think it may be that aliens are interested in all the animal and plant life. It would make sense. I mean, if we had the technology to explore other planets, we'd probably want to study the areas that were the most rich in biodiversity. Another interesting thing, the Brazilian government apparently conducted a secret investigation called Operation Prato in the late 70s. The army was sent to monitor the area for for alien activity after reports of UFOs started coming in. The operation was kept under wraps for decades, but it was eventually declassified, revealing that the government had been seriously looking into UFOs and possibly alien encounters in the region. What you're looking at here is footage of one of the last surviving thylacines, aka the Tasmanian tiger. This animal was once found all over Tasmania, Australia, New Guinea, but it was declared extinct in the 1930s. Is it actually extinct though? The thylacine was a carnivore with a stiff kangaroo-like tail and had a pouch just like a marsupial. The creature was a bit of a mystery, even back in its day. It was a very rare animal. So rare, it was actually thought to be a legend. So it was pretty incredible when these things were actually found to exist, just in really small numbers. And after the last known one died in captivity in 1936, people thought that they were just gone for good. But stories of thylacine sightings have been popping up for decades. There have been reports from locals, hikers, even hunters who claim to have spotted the animal roaming the wilds of Tasmania. Some say they've seen it darting through the bush or crossing roads late at night. One of the most compelling reasons people think the thylacine could still be alive is, well, for one, it used to be alive, and the fact that Tasmania is so remote. The island is full of thick, rugged forests and mountains, places that are hard to explore thoroughly, so it's not completely out of the question that a few of these animals could have managed to stay hidden from humans. It's not just locals who believe in these things' survival either. Some scientists, conservationists, and cryptozoologists also agree, citing strange footage and unclear animal tracks found in the wild. There's even a documentary on the subject, with people traveling deep into the Tasmanian wilderness looking for proof. Let's talk about a creepy legend from the Hawaiian Islands, the Night Marchers. These spirits are said to be the vengeful ghosts of ancient Hawaiian warriors, and they're rumored to haunt certain areas of the islands, especially at night. And if you cross their path, you're in serious trouble. A pretty eerie story comes from a woman named Kay Borles, who was running a 100-mile endurance race through the Hawaiian rainforests in 2019. The race, known as the Hurt 100, is intense. It's a 20-mile loop through dense, muddy trails, and you gotta run it 5 times, because that's how math works. While running with her friend Cassie, who was taking photos to document the run, Borles unknowingly captured something strange in one of the pictures. When they looked at one of the photos later that night, they spotted a figure standing in the background, a figure neither of them had seen while running. Borles took to Reddit to share what happened, saying, "Notice the figure in the frame to the left of my head? We never saw anyone passing us, and there were no statues along the trail. It is not photoshopped or made. This is legit." After doing some research, she and her friend believe they might have seen one of the Night Marchers. According to Hawaiian legend, anyone who locks eyes with a Night Marcher will die violently unless they lie down and show respect. Fortunately for Borles, she didn't see anything directly. The Amazon rings. These are a series of strange ring-shaped ditches scattered throughout the rainforest, and no one really knows what they are or why they exist. The rings are ancient though, way older than the rainforest itself. Some archaeologists think the rings were used as burial grounds or maybe even as a form of defense, but there's no solid proof to back either story. It's all just guesswork. Alright, so you know what I'm gonna say next? Let's just get right to it. Some people think they were left by aliens. The idea is that the rings could have been caused by spaceships landing long before the rainforest grew over them. It's a pretty far out theory, obviously, but given that we still can't explain these rings, it's one that people keep tossing around. What makes the Amazon rings even more mysterious is that no one can figure out how ancient people would have managed to make them. The tools that would have been needed to carve out such precise shapes just doesn't seem to have existed back then. It's almost like these rings just appeared out of nowhere. So yeah, maybe they were made by some lost civilization or something else entirely. Alright, back to some big hairy ape guys, the Maricoxi. This is basically the South American version of Bigfoot creatures. These creatures are said to be massive, ape-like beings that can grow up to 12 feet tall. Imagine walking through the jungle and coming contact with something that huge. Horrifying. And while they look pretty primitive, they're actually supposed to be pretty smart. They're said to use bows and arrows, and some reports claim they even live in villages. One of the most famous encounters with the creatures came from Colonel Percival H. Fawcett, a British explorer who was mapping out the jungles of South America back in 1914. Fawcett claimed that he came across these creatures north of a tribe called the Maksubi. He described them as big, super hairy, living in the wild and grunting instead of talking. He also said they were extremely hostile toward humans. In his book Lost Trails, Lost Cities, Fawcett tells the story of how he and his crew got really close to these creatures and things almost got violent. The creatures were about to attack, but Fawcett and his men managed to scare them off by shooting their firearms into the ground. But in 1925, Fawcett and his entire expedition vanished without a trace while trying to find the lost city of Z. Some think they were killed by local tribes, others think they might have just starved or got lost, eaten by animals, but there's also a theory that they were killed by the Maricoxi. Next up, we have the Boiling River. The Boiling River, also known as Chane Timpishka, is a very hot river found in the Amazon rainforest in Peru. It's not the type of river you're going to want to take a dip in because the water can get really hot. Not sauna hot, I mean boiling hot. A hot cup of tea kind of hot. This river is about 4 miles long, and in some parts the water temperature can reach up to nearly 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius. You can boil an egg in this river, and I'm not exaggerating. The YouTube channel Nas Daily actually posted a video trying that exact thing. So exactly what is going on here? Well, scientists think it has something to do with geothermal activity deep down in the earth. There might be some hot rocks or something heating up the water before it bubbles to the surface. That's my version of explaining that science. I'm sure there's much more to it than that. But local shamans also have legends about an entity known as Yakumama, a giant serpent spirit known as the mother of the waters that causes the water to boil. In 2012, deep in the jungles of Ecuador, explorers discovered the remains of what looked like a lost city. It became known as the Lost City of Giants. A group of explorers, along with a few locals who knew the area well, set out to find it, and according to them, the city had always been a legend passed down through generations. When they finally arrived, they found something truly bizarre. These massive, towering structures. The biggest of these was a pyramid that stood an insane 79 meters or 260 feet tall. It had a weird shape as well that set it apart from anything the explorers had ever seen. At the top of the pyramid was this flat, polished stone, which the locals believed was a sacrificial altar. The sheer size of the buildings led a lot of people to believe that this city could have only been built by giants. Archaeologists who visit the site have some mixed opinions, though. Some are convinced that the giants might have been involved. Others just don't really buy it. But it gets weirder, though. Along with these structures, the explorers found oversized tools and artifacts. The tools were so big that, according to the team, there's no way a regular human could have used them. With all that said, though, I've been your host, James, and I'll catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.